guess I'm in the wrong room. No, I'm in the right room. How come I can't hear you?
Right realm.
Okay, I can hear you. Streaming volume is good. We are go. Welcome to another Ember Chief chat. Again, like I said, we're keeping things a little mellow here as we work on stuff in the background, but there are things a brewing, and I'd like to take care of a little business before we go forward. First off, I have some people to thank. If you remember last stream, we were talking about the difficult availability of video cards. Yeah, video cards. And we were talking about how we didn't see things improving in the next year, and how Nvidia's new Ampere generation cards, their 4000 series cards, are likely to be priced at much higher rates than before, if you can even get them. And we're going through shortages and stuff, so we said, okay, let's dial back our graphics plans and let's make sure that we're running on lower end hardware, or what will be the most common card on Steam, right? And that turns out to be the 1060. And there's two flavors of 1060. There's a 3 gigabyte and a 6 gigabyte. And then another popular card that you can still get today that's also at the lower end is the 1050 Ti. So I reached out to the community, and you guys are such ballers. You guys came through and sent me cards, and not at scalper prices either. So I wanted and some out of the graciousness of their hearts. So I wanted to thank personally a couple people here. Lyle4 Guy, thank you very much for the graphics card. I believe it's arriving today. And Quadrana 2, thank you very much for the card. And DH Yoko, thank you so much for that. We have all the cards. We've got the 1060 6 gigabyte, we've got the 1060 3 gigabyte, and we have a 1050 Ti. So that is perfect. So if you want to know what the min spec for Ember will be, I suspect it will be those cards. I talked to NVIDIA about going one generation earlier, and they did not recommend it for. So I think that if you want to be good on Ember, make sure you got a 1050 Ti or 1060. That's what we're going to make sure that it'll run on. And if we run on that, I think there's a chance we'll run on Steam Deck too, right? Steam Deck's running some pretty impressive games. I don't know if you've seen, but they've been doing some tests, like Horizon Zero Dawn's running on it, some other stuff. So if we target that, so that means our use of nanite will be limited. Obviously, our terrain test was made it very obvious that using nanite for terrain was a no-go. We're still going to do it for frames as a test, and we'll check that out. Yeah, I believe your 1080. I'm sorry, your 1080s, your 3080s, and your AMD 6700s, 5700s, and 6900s are all going to be fine. Yeah, we have Steam Decks on order, but it's Q1 of next year, and I don't know what's going to happen, guys. Things are so crazy. I took a drive the other day. I'm right in California, right? So I'm driving on the freeway, and I'm looking out at the ocean, and I just see container ship after container ship after container ship, all piled up. I mean, they have to maintain some sort of minimum spacing, I guess. But I was just thinking, not only are these ships just sitting out there unable to unload, but they can't go make another trip, right? So it's like worse than the fact that they're just waiting there. It's not like more ships are arriving. They can't go back and get more graphics cards for you guys. and Christmas presents. I think it's going to be really tough this year. Really tough. And next year doesn't look much better, unfortunately. But hey, we can pass the time with computer games. I'm excited for a couple things. We talk about other games on this stream. So Deep Rock, hugely fun game. There's an update dropping today with a rival corporation and a new bot that you get, Haxie. Her name is Haxie, and you can hack the rival corporation stuff. Yeah, it's already out. My kids woke up very early this morning to play it. I thought they were just excited for school. I was wrong. I don't know. Why do I continue to be a naive parent? I have no idea. Yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit today because I think their wave encounters are awesome. I would like to replicate some of that frenzy, for the thumper stuff. So yeah, that's valuable research that has to be done today. Yeah, Nvidia did do some. The rumor is they stopped production of the three. Um, well, so yeah, you can't get them, and you'll want the 4000 series cards, and nobody's happy about that. But they don't care; they're making money. No, I'm very happy that I have mining buddies here that are willing to mine with me in Deep Rock. But well, I have family. Yeah, Vin Diesel. I got family to mine with. Not for crypto, for rock and stone. For Carl. I love the game. I cannot lie. I don't have nearly as many hours in it as my kids do, but I do love the game. What does that mean, Ronan? I live my life 15 megabytes at a time. I don't even understand what that means.
It's a Vin Diesel line from Fast and Furious. Said
Oh,
he lives his life 15 seconds at a time or something like that.
okay. Yeah. Nothing's impossible to mine when you've got family.
There you go, Scoop. Good job.
Quarter mile at a time. Yeah, that was the original quote. Got it. I haven't watched the latest, Fast and Furious stuff. Did they go to space? Did that really happen?
I haven't seen it yet, but I will.
were the cars in space?
I hope so.
Dude, talk about jumping the shark or Sharknado. That's just so over the top. I might have to watch that.
Like I feel like you gotta know what you're going to see at any given time, and I feel like if you're going to see a Fast and the Furious movie, you have to know it's going to be absurd. Like that's the rule.
Definitely. Well, today we've got some Ember things to share. We're primarily going to be sharing a lot of the uh, deeper animation technology that Harry has been working on as we get the new units up to speed. We've been looking at things like, Unreal's built-in AI versus doing our own, and it looks increasingly like we'll be doing a blend or doing more of our own AI for the behaviors that we want. The behaviors in the current encounter are, they're pretty simplistic. But they're relying on Unreal's underlying, tools and technology, and that's good to get them up and running. But I wanted some behaviors that you couldn't get out of the current system, and so we're working on a little bit on that. So we're going to show you a little bit about that. Zingo's asking, have you ever played Hellgate London or know the Rogue developers from Blizzard North? Yeah, I know Bill Roper really well, and of course I know the Breviks really, the Schaefer brothers and Dave Brevik as well. So yeah, I'm very familiar with the Hellgate London peeps. Yeah, we're on Discord, Kavas. You're on Discord. So what do you mean? Is this on Steam? Discord doesn't work well on mobile data. I don't know what that means. Oh, business. That's right. We got more business. So, for those of you who haven't seen, we have a new pet in the. Oh, Discord changed the way images posted, huh? We have a new pet in the store. You guys named him. What's the name? Come on, everybody. Community named this one. Let me see it. Snick. No, not Snick. Pliskin! Yes! Faye, you were supposed to let the community guess. Doom Noodle. Deep Strike Doom Noodle. Otherwise known as Pliskin.
Deep Strike Doom Noodle.
This particular pet is see-through and will show its skeletal innards. It's fully lewd. Full frontal snack. Deep Strike Doom Noodle is his full name. People call him Pliskin for short. That's available in the monthly patron program right now. And I got something pretty cool coming up for this month for this skin. Yeah. New artist, new Japanese artist, and a new take on things. What does that mean? I don't know yet. It's a secret. No, not a waifu. But really cool. I'm very excited about it. So we were obviously late on this skin, but we'll be rolling back probably to the 20th for this skin release. And I did warn about this last stream. The prices will be going up, and this is the I hate it. I really do. But this is the notice that But we won't talk about that. We will talk about the cool stuff that's coming. Yes, you're visible on stream. So there is cool stuff coming. And the other thing I need to do is order a test bench case and a motherboard, power supply for the graphics cards that came in. That's very important. I want to do that before January, because I don't know if you heard, but mandates go into effect January. There might be trucker strikes or whatever. We're just being careful here, folks. We're just trying to plan ahead. Be careful. Make sure we got what we need to keep going here. So we got great skin coming up. Kitty proofing the build. Well, it depends how hot the GPU gets, because cats are attracted to warmth. If we use too much of your graphics card, there is a danger your cat will sit on top of your PC and overheat. All right, enough yakking. Let us show you what we've been working on. Harry has been preparing some technology that we will be deploying in the near term for animation on the Tsihu. And we're going to give you a little bit of look at that. And so the way this works is because I'm going to be piping in Harry's stream, and I really should do this as you can probably host other people's streams on Twitch. I just haven't looked at that. But the way we do it is we won't be in the chief chat room, so you won't hear us there. You'll hear us only on Twitch. So now is the time to get your browser open for Twitch and to watch us on stream, because you'll only be able to hear Harry and us on Twitch. So I'll give people a few moments to do that. Thank you for posting the link, Faye. Hey, is the new Final Fantasy XIV update out yet? That's this month, right? The new expansion? Soon, TM. Yeah, I'm so not ready. I still have 2 expansions to go through. And there's Deep Rock to play today.
I haven't even made my character yet. That's how behind I am. It's terrible.
Well, we're all waiting for you. We've got the company set up. We have peeps in it. I haven't been playing lately, but I will get back to it. And Gigabyte asked on Twitch, when is... Yeah, thank you. I'm not watching Twitch chat right now, so I should probably... Let me get that set up, actually. But the next demo, we don't have an announcement date for that yet. it's going to be focused on some see who behavior stuff. But we need to, like I said, we're doing a lot on frames. We're doing a lot on the new version 3 G Suite. I talked about that last stream, right? I can't show you guys. Probably not going to show you guys for a while. But there's the version 3 G Suite is freaking awesome, and we have the new and improved version 2 G Suite coming as well. You know how we revamped version 1 G Suite and updated it? So we got version 1, we got version 2, and then we have Kickstarter version 3. When's the home demo? That's going to depend on a couple things. One is Ricardo is moving, and he's packed up and he's moving countries. And when he gets to his new domicile, that's when we'll work on that. Watch Em8er dance or Grum's playback Discord chat. That's a tough choice. I know that I tend to detract from her audience, so I don't want to take away too many of her viewers. All right, I'm gonna get on Twitch, and then we're gonna get set up for streaming here. I want to be able to see Twitch chat. I opened it up, and I swear, what is this channel recommendation? I watched Em8er once. She really is dancing, and now there's a new meta. I see hot tub, I see the ear thing, and now I see a new thing, hoop dancing. Is that the new Twitch thought meta? Is hoop dancing? It looks like hula hooping, except it's all combined. The thumbnail shows hula hooping in a bikini in a hot tub. I think that's a try hard. That's obviously a try hard, right? That's a little too much. Okay. Does anyone know how to get rid of the recommendation stuff? Because after just watching one of these things, I have my entire recommendations filled with this. Is there any way to kill that algorithm? Please let me know, because it's getting to be a little ridiculous. You can't? I could go down the HoloLive rabbit hole. Maybe that'll help. Then it'll just be filled with HoloLive recommendations. But, geez, hoop dancing. I can't believe there's another meta on Twitch already. Innovators. You can't stop innovation.
Oh yeah, by the way, don't they have new set of words you're not allowed to say? Something relating to inter-streamer harassment. I think the sucker idolizing things, that acronym, the thing which I'm talking about. Apparently, that's one of those words that you're supposed to not to be saying. So
do I ever say it?
Well,
I don't know what the word is.
You said Twitch, the word, and I'm not sure if that one is blacklisted or not. But
I said a blacklisted word.
Possibly.
Was it?
I cannot confirm, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Was it hoop dancing? Oh! Was it the T word?
Yes.
Oh, you can't use the T. The T.
I'm not sure, but I vaguely remember hearing them banning certain words around this.
Is it
caliber?
Is that the T word with the hard T? It's a racket. It's a protection racket for the entire industry. I got nothing against those streams. Don't get me wrong. You want to do hoop dancing in a what is it? Hot tub? That's a lot of H's. That's a lot of alliteration. Hula hooping hot tubbing. There you go. That's better for a title. I just help the T words out. Marketing. All right, I'm on Twitch now. We are going to go over to another room. I'm going to get ready here. Let's see.
In a virtual sense.
In a virtual sense, yes. All right, let me put up a little intermission here. and start this. All right.
Hello? Am I in the right place?
Yep. You guys should be live on
Mic
audio.
check.
Can you guys hear us? No,
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm actually going to be watching Twitch chat. I won't see Discord chat for this. Let's go ahead and stream. Open up your stream, Harry, and I'll get that set up.
Yes, hang on. Also, I think I'm a little bit loud. I'm gonna lower.
It's kind of a casual day today. We got
Is this coming through? Yeah, all right.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to fire the stream up, pop the window, and let's see if we go live here. Nope.
Also, I noticed we had lower, like fairly lower than average amount of people. I think it's due to the daylight savings time shift that I was talking about.
Well, that might be
but-
true, but I also didn't send out an email about this one.
Oh, right.
And normally, if I send out an email, we'll get our usual viewership. But if I don't send out the email, we don't. And I did not send out an email this time. All right, so we have animation stuffs to show you, and I'm going to pass it off to Harry. Harry, go ahead, take it away.
Yes, insofar that I can. First off, I'd like to remind people that don't know I'm not an animator person, and we will be looking to hire an animation minion as soon as we have money to hire people. So this is all R&D learning for me. That's why it's also taking fairly so long, right? Lots of whenever I get into something that's Byzantinely complicated, like an animation systems and stuff around that, you get into these weird mental blocks wherein you simply can't get any work done. So it's just explaining how things go with me. So what have I been working on, or sparsely working on, is that last time we left off, we were talking about how to do the distance matching thing, wherein we trying to pair up two different animation, right? Where one animation ends, you basically want to try find a point where the second animation sort of the point in time that is closest to where the previous animation ended, right? So when we were talking specifically something like this animation, which is transition of going from idle to running, it looks like this, right? So this is one animation.
Actually, Harry, just to
yes?
go over the last stream that you did, I think you were showing people that we could adjust stride length based on movement speed to eliminate feet sliding on terrain. I think that
Oh,
was
yes.
that's what we did last time, and then we were transitioning to this system, which is really just a, what are the benefits of the system that we're implementing now?
Right. So basically, what we are trying to accomplish here is create such a procedural system that is capable of pairing up and matching up poses of animations. So the poses from any given time. Let me rephrase that. Basically, match up transitioning poses, post transition, right? Uh, and you're trying to do generally enough wherein you can do it with any animation without really knowing specifics of that animation, be it procedural.
Now, what's the advantage of that? Most games, especially indie games, for example, these techniques that we're using are really kind of like what AAA studios do, right? Like games like Ubisoft's done a lot of research into this. Assassin's Creed, some of the stuff that Epic's done with their Paragon game, things like this. And normally, foot sliding is not an issue that gets fixed. What they do is this is the last stream, by the way, that they manually just pick a run speed for the enemy and then they manually animate to that speed. but we wanted to be able to vary the speed of the enemies, especially for while we're doing tuning and balance. And so we wanted to be able to have the animations match and not slide. And so that was really a good thing to have. And then the other advanced thing that we're doing is, uh, a lot of simpler games, indie games will normally just blend between animation states. And if the character suddenly decides to go from running to, doing something else, it could look very jarring, or their limbs could be positioned in odd ways. And so there's a much more technical way of making sure that your blend is as close as possible to looking natural. And this is the matching that Harry's talking about now. All right,
Yeah.
Harry.
So basically, the output you want from this is you want the animation, or rather, you want the character moving as naturally as possible. So no hitches, no weird bones, you know, bending into each other and stuff like that. No, these. You sometimes notice is that these like single frame. You cannot really describe them. But you'd see something is off. You see like a hitch happening there, right? And uh, basically it takes a lot of effort to make it really really natural. So when you think something like Assassin's Creed games put a lot of technology and time and research into making their like, for example, when you're moving through the crowd, to make sure that the character that you're controlling turns his torso and puts his hand on the pedestrian that he's passing and stuff like that, right? Basically making it achieving this sort of natural animation, natural sort of flow uh, of the character. And that's really difficult, right? It's far beyond anything like I don't know, like I mentioned on the previous game, Deus Ex, right? Wherein the animations were just whatever. They just it just switched arbitrarily between animation. So to today's, the standards are sort of again higher, even in this case, as we talked about the last. So what is the output of this? So basically what we want what we want to happen is, or how what it looks like now is this, right? So there was a transition here between two animations, right? And you didn't see it, and that's the point. Like when it's working, you don't see anything. That's the whole sort of you know gimmick of this. So you sort of like, maybe if I slow this down, you might be able to identify the point at which one animation ends and the second one begins. See, there was this little slowdown. You could tell by these. You can tell that the sort of these lines are highlighting. Yeah, that's basically the point of that. That's basically
So
your hint when the animation's happening,
the
right?
two animations that Harry is blending here is we actually have start animations for our runs and walks and trots, and stopping animations as well. And so and that's so that, characters just don't lurch into a run unnaturally. And so you have to blend that precisely. And so these are the two animations that are currently being blended, which is the going from a stop position to a start, a full run, and we have transitions for many states.
Yeah. So this is the start animation by itself, right? You can tell that part of this animation is sort of like he's just straight up running, right? Part of this animation is like full on the run cycle, and this is the run cycle. This is the different animation that I switched to, and when I just played, you see it's just looping run cycle. There is no launch like before. He's not standing at the beginning of it. He sort of launches into it, and in this animation he's just straight up just running, right? And the thing that I was working at is trying to find a system that is able to take any point in time from this animation, let's say, for example, and match it up as closely as possible to a time in this second animation. right? So find a point in time that is closest to that to where you left off the first anime, right? And yeah, it wasn't it took me a fairly long time because I had a lot of R&D to um can I play back the rendered picture in slow mo? Right. So okay, so this is again, this is the final output, and I just play run. You see, this is him launching, and at some point in time, there's this transition into the cycle, into the running animation. This can go on infinitely, right? This is just the animation that is going to now play until something changes, like he goes back to idle, and uh normally, so the benefit of the what usually people do, or what usually animators on and tech animators do, is that when you take uh you they're going to try taking this start animation, right? So this is the animation where he launches into action, and he tries to end the animation in such a pose that it matches up to the first frame of the next animation, right? So this is the first frame of the cycle of the running animation, and this is the last frame of the launch animation, right? So this is the last frame of the launch animation. This is the first frame of the cycle animation, right? The one that's going to repeat infinitely, and you can see it's the same pose, right? This is how it's normally done. This is nothing procedural is involved here. You just smoothly link up those two animations that just sort of like just cut in the
So
middle,
what you're
right?
saying, Harry, is that
Yeah, it was pointless. I didn't have to do it.
we would
No.
we would animate the start, and then
Yes.
at the last frame of the lunge into the run, we would match that pose with the cycled run animation. But
Yes.
yeah, but when we change speeds, or when we change their acceleration, this is where the matching comes in, right? It's more important on stops, I think, than actual starts.
Specifically, not even necessarily speed, because let's say if we were to change the stride, we would change the stride at both animations equally, right? So it would match up in the end, and it wouldn't matter all that much. But uh, the point of doing this is that when this transition is interrupted, right? So let's say he's running, right now is in running state, and it switches over into a different state, like he needs to stop, right? So for example, the thing might happen wherein you have to match up this starting animation and this stop animation, right? Wherein you didn't really get to the part of you actually running. You were starting to run, but it stopped before, like for you did like a brief
Right.
sprint.
Because depending on what the players are doing and what the AI
Yes.
is doing, it could say, "Hey, I need to go stop now," right? And then you need to figure out how to do that blend intelligently without him looking like he broke all his legs.
Yes. And that's the point of it, being able to just sort of uh, from any animation to any kind of animation to any animation, and match it up as best as you can, right? It's possible that it sometimes doesn't work out. Sometimes the animations are way too different, wherein the animation you're transitioning from, or the pose you're transitioning from, doesn't really have a meaningful equivalent in the target animation, right? C'est la vie, like you can't do anything like that, right? Anything about that, you just take the loss. So I did a lot of uh, this sort of procedural analysis and description, right? Wherein I basically take two bones, or these. Let me turn on the bone. This. There you go. Basically, you take. I take a close look at these feet bones, right? This is like a sort of ankle thing happening. That's how we imagine it. We don't really have bones as you would understand it medically, right? You don't have bones that go into these xenobiology. I don't know
You know what I
what
find,
this
Harry? A lot of people
bone
focus
structure would
on
look
those
like.
sticks between the balls, right? So
What?
Did I just get banned on Twitch? The Frank and the Beans, son. No, in this diagram, obviously I'm talking about the diagram, right? In Unreal. So you've got the I got it. You got the
I don't know
round
which stick you're
things,
talking about.
the round things, and then you got
The
the straight things between the
Oh, right.
round
These
things.
things. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, yeah. I see what you mean.
and
Yeah.
and a lot of people like to focus on the stick, and what you really need to focus on is on the ball. And that's a joint, and that is really, the stick is really just a visual representation, but what you're to make it easier to
What it's
see
connected to. Yeah.
what the just digging the hole deeper, it's easier to see what the balls are doing.
Yes. So what I'm trying to do here is basically generate these curves dynamically, these sort of functions, lines, curves, whatever you want to call this, right? And what this describes is actually um the translation of the bone, right? So if you can watch, if you're watching the um this is actually the oh yeah, the left. So hang on, is this accurate? Oh no, no, I'm looking at the wrong left. This is the left. Uh, so if you're watching, you can see if that the bone follows the curve, right? So here over here it's not moving, then it starts to go back, and the curves descends. It's going back. It's going back. Then it slows down. I mean, it goes up, but I'm only tracking one dimension, right? I'm only tracking left to right. I don't care about up and down for now. So, oops.
So
So
what does the curve represent, Harry?
again, position, uh, distance from zero, distance from
From the
arbitrary
center
0
of
point.
the root of the character?
Yes, technically, yes, yes. It's yeah, this root over here, yeah, that's like the 0 point. And depending on how the skeleton and the animation is set up, like you can see he's floating, right? This is something that comes into play later, and he's sort of floating. So like this root is below ground. It's not necessarily that this root from which all these, because when you have a skeleton, you always have to have a single root, right? And in this case, it's this little ball here, right? This root. And uh, in this case, it sort of works out awkwardly, wherein it's animated in such a way that it expects the ground to be slightly higher than the root. And I don't know if that's good procedure, but that's not for me to question. So basically, this curve describes how it translates along a single axis, right? Specifically, the x-axis, as it would, the forward and backward axis. So you can see that the left foot now follows the curve and is going forward, and this is this is the peak. And basically, from this one, this is basically a forward-looking, wherein you basically see into the future and know where the leg is going to go, right? And you can work with that. I mean, you technically know it at any time because all the animations are baked, but it's not always available. Like the animation doesn't tell you, uh, it doesn't do the analysis for you. It doesn't create this curve for you. As far as the animation is concerned, at any given point in time, it has a certain position, but you don't necessarily, from that, when you're in that point in time, you don't necessarily know what comes before, what comes after. You have to evaluate it, right? So this is basically the result of that evaluation. You just sort of look at every single frame of the animation and you plot curve like this, so that you can determine where the leg is going forward, where it's going back, and so on,
Right.
where it crosses the pelvis, where it crosses the root, and potentially even where it touches, quote unquote, the ground. You have to arbitrarily, the way I do it is I arbitrarily decide that 16 points of distance is, quote unquote, the ground, because that seems to be where the animation looks like he's touching. what passes off as a
So,
ground. Yeah.
in order to do this type of pose matching, you have to know, like Harry said, you got to know in the animation kind of ahead of time where that bone's going to be in relation to like that center root ground of the character. You also need to know when the feet are touching the ground, and you got to know the direction forward and back that that leg is swinging, and that information. A lot for other games that have done this technique, like I've seen this in Unreal's Paragon lectures, right? They actually write an exporter in Maya that will generate these curves, but Harry has done it so that he's generating the curves outside of Maya in Unreal itself at compile time. So this information is used for the blend, and so before we can even start blending, Harry had to come up with a heuristic for measuring and tagging what the animation is doing at any point in time, and like he said, to be able to look into the future by some time to see where those bones will be.
All right. So basically, another analysis that I do here is, I guess this is getting really technical. So basically, all of this, the first step I had to do is create a code that it sort of generates these curve and generates these little information that is, these are basically uh, sort of meta information for me, where the curve is descending, where the curve is ascending, which bone is dominant, meaning which one is the one that's currently going forward, uh, and also a bunch of synchronization markers for where when the bone crosses the pelvis, right? So pelvis is up here. Uh, this thing over here. So this synchronization marker is the point in time where the bone passes it from either from positive to negative, or negative, it's from minus from negative values to positive values, or positive values to negative values.
Harry,
Another thing
there's a
is where
question on Twitch for you.
Mhm.
It's Dr. Rose Hovis asks, do we know if this is going to be server side or client side? If server, I'm worried about how much data will need to be thrown about. Likely
uh,
something to look at later.
yes, like we said last time, server is probably not going to be running any kind of animation because it doesn't need to know. Like the server doesn't care necessarily, unless it's like a specific animation, like a montage, wherein we do uh, a dodge. So, for example, when he jumps behind the cover, right? Then let's say the server executes a sort of a dodging animation wherein it actually moves him. It actually moves the Tsihu behind the cover, right? So that's one thing that's going to execute. But these things, no. Uh, Hit detection, in terms of hit detection, um, we're probably going to use simplified hit detection, wherein you're always going to have you're basically going to have these things, right? Um, Not even that. This is these are like sort of um this is called a physics asset, and it's basically the volumes around each bone that you use for hit detection, right? So when you hit him when you basically collide with this cube over here, the game evaluates it as I hit this shoulder pad. But for if we wanted to simulate exactly whether he's been hit in the leg or the chest and so on, then probably the server would need to, if he wanted to confirm it. This is the thing: is it's entirely question of how you set up the authoritativeness, because client-side hit detection is something every single game does today, right? Uh, the client just informs the server, "Oh, look, I hit him," and it's not even hit scan versus projectile. It's about authoritativeness, right? And if the server wants to verify that the client actually did hit him, and I could tell everyone else that he did damage this Tsihu over here, he needs to be able to verify uh, whether he's not just making stuff up, right? Whether he says, oh, I hit the projectile, or I aimed over here and I totally hit him, dude. And you're gonna have to, the server's going to have information and the simulation to make that determination for himself. But most games do the thing where they just trust the client, because it's just, again, you would have to run the animation, and the performance hit may be too much. Like I said, the one anecdote that I like to use is unironically, trust me, dude, is how the games do it. Because there was a point in time in Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3 maybe, wherein hackers could just kill everyone from the opposing team at the start of the round when nobody was able to move or shoot. That was the extent to which they didn't care, and they just trusted the clients, wherein the hacker just copied or generated a packet informing the server, oh, by the way, I shot this dude in the head from across the map while I wasn't able to shoot. And the server's like, all right, that seems fine with me. Let's just tell everyone, and tell the dude that you hit that he died as well, and tell everyone else that he got shot in the head and died. Tragic for the dude that wasn't able to move. And it just worked. It was comical, right? And it is the reality of that. Most games just do it because it's too performance intensive to uh, run the simulation to such a degree that you would get perfect authoritative sort of you would be able with certainty to with certainty determine that he actually hit at that point, um, in the on the Tsihu dude, right? You could do simple sanity checks, like for example, you know, obviously you weren't able to shoot because it's freeze time at the beginning of the round. Don't bullshit me with this, right? So there's you could trivially reject some some of the things which you should do, which we will do, obviously. Like we won't we will do some kind of low level server side verification, wherein we determined that the player had enough ammo and was in the vague vicinity, and uh, at
Well,
in
let
a
me let me
pinch
let
you.
me interject here, Harry. The reason this is coming up, I think, is also because New World's getting a lot of flack for some of its client side, trust the client sub type of stuff, and a lot of YouTubers
Oh,
are
do they?
saying, "Oh, yeah," and a lot of YouTubers are saying, "Oh my gosh, server validation is the only way to go, and you must always only be server validated." And this is evolved, right? The technology's evolved a lot. When I was doing WoW, we certainly made the server 100% authoritative, except for movement, because we wanted movement to be very smooth. And some games like Asheron's Call did server-side validation of movement. So if you lagged, you'd actually slow down, and if you drop packets, your character would actually stop, even though you're going forward, and it felt horrible. And so WoW was designed for dial-up modems, right? So we were like, okay, we want movement to be smooth. We definitely will trust the client on movement, but we will trust but verify, right? We had checks on movement stuff on the server. But everything else for combat and hit and stuff like that on WoW was done server side. Now, I had an interesting conversation with several years ago with Gabe Newell, and Gabe and I were talking about server authoritative stuff for MMOs, and he absolutely was of the belief that it would be possible in the future to do everything client side. So he was on the opposite end of the debate. Gabe was 100% convinced that MMOs could be done client side, and I didn't believe him at the time. But there's actually reasons to believe why that is possible now, especially with blockchain technology. And I won't go into the specifics of all the different things you have to look out for when you're talking about how do you make an MMO completely client side without being completely broken. But let's just say that technology has evolved a lot. And so, what we're seeing with a lot of, especially action games, is that you do have to be a little more client side than you would for traditional MMO. And this is not necessarily going to be the reason why the sky is falling. I think there's a lot of YouTubers out there that don't understand where technology is going. And while New World's implementation has some big flaws, there are other ways to do it that we won't get into here. Server validation is certainly one of them. You can't do server validation all the time. I have worked on technologies that do different types of ways to mitigate that. I don't want to go into it here. I just want to say that having done this for a very long time and watched other games do this for a very long time, you can do a hybrid system between client and server authority. It's not the sky is falling scenario. It's not like these YouTubers saying that, oh, New World, will never be fixed because it's so client side. I mean, yeah, maybe they didn't have this sort of thinking involved on how to hybridize this correctly, and they have a lot of work ahead of them to fix it now. But just because a game uses a hybrid model, and or and if you go by Gabe thinks you can do it 100% client side, and he's had some interesting ideas about how that's possible. Um, you know, that's not automatically a a disaster scenario for a game. So I want to say that you're going to see more and more hybrid type approaches, and that this is going to result in more responsive, more actiony MMOs, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to say that it's not completely 100% server side. So why don't we leave that question at that? Hopefully, I explained that well enough without getting specifics. Harry and I have talked about ways to approach this with hit detection in particular. We've had lengthy discussions about it. We have some ideas about how we want to hybridize that. But for those of you who want to know, it's like, yeah, we do a first pass. Let's call it that. We do hit validation on the client right now, and there are reasons for that. Primarily, that we want to provide 100% responsiveness where we can. And no, Gabe has not discussed his client side only ideas in public. This is a private conversation I had with Gabe. Um, and it was kind of like a back and forth because I was like, "You're full of it," and then he explained, and I was like, "Okay." But he didn't have all the pieces back then, and I said, "You're going to hit some issues," and then when blockchain came out, I was like, "This can solve those issues." So, um, I'm and so, but I think that's getting way too technical on that. Uh, yes, Gaben, that Gabe. Yep. All
So
right. So there was another question about Harry. Harry, I want to move on. So
yes, 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 yes.
up and downhill animation. So there's some procedural stuff that I guess some games use for traveling up and downhill. I know we've looked at that before. I don't know if and we're not talking about foot IK. We're talking about the positioning shifting. Wondered if you ever looked at that, Harry.
No, no, no. Slope animations for slope movement. I'm not sure how that would look like. It would basically, the way I imagine is usually when you go down the slope, even if you imagine it like in real life, when you're actually moving down the slope, you sort of lower your stride, and you sort of make you sort of you have lower stride but higher frequency, right? So basically you would uh hmm it would basically probably involve changing the rate, you doing the speed warping thing wherein you change the stride, maybe even increasing the speed of the running animation. uh I would have to experiment a little, look at that
Yeah, I'm not
to
sure
sort of
what they
explain that.
mean. I've seen it before where it's a positional change. I don't think they're talking about slowing it or speeding up, going uphill or downhill. I think it's something to do with how the character's leaning. If they're leaning more forward or back to sort of like look
Oh,
look
right,
more
yes.
balanced on a slope.
Yeah, 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 probably, yeah, yeah. You would basically
Yeah,
you
basically
would
we haven't
basically
looked at it all.
rotate your upper torso. Yeah, yeah. Would you? I would have to. Yeah, not at all. Right now, I'm the test map I'm working with is this flat terrain where he's not moving at all. Uh, so any kind of obstacles are have to evaluate that when that problem arises. So basically, long story short, what we the result of so yeah, okay, so the first thing that I had to come up with or code is the like a script to generate these things, these markers and these curves and all this stuff, and that's this thing, right? Yeah, that's yeah, this thing. um Lots of, I mean, it's pointless to go through. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of calculation, comparing, saving, storing, blah blah blah. Lots of small operations. So that's that's what produces these things. And then there is a lot of C++ code that actually uh, that actually does the matching, and there's probably no point in showing this. I mean, it looks like this. It's C++
Why not? It looks
code.
cool. It looks like we're elite hackers. So yeah, let's show this off.
I mean, it's basically the step the algorithm 1, 2, 3 the algorithm, quote unquote, that I came up with is at first point you determine which bone is the dominant bone. So the things you have to work with is the source animation, or the one animation going from, the animation you're going to, or the target animation. So configuration stuff, know where to look, just so you know where to look. This is not necessarily a proper parameter.
And
And the time in the source animation and is the thing that you have to work with. So you have the source animation, time you left it. Now find me a matching time in the target animation that's closest to this pose. That's
so let me attempt a layman's interpretation of this. So
all right.
let's say you've got a run animation, and then he needs to go into a roll. Let's say we don't have a roll, but let's just say it's some sort of dodge animation, right? And the dodge needs to happen at a certain time. You know, like the AI says, I need to dodge right now, and I don't care where you are in your run animation, make it look good, right? So the way normally games do this is they have a separate dodge animation, and they've got the run animation, and they will stop the run animation when the AI says change to dodge, and then they do what's called a linear interpolation. They do a blend into the very beginning of the dodge animation. But that ends up looking like crap a lot of times because you don't know where you are in the run cycle, and your legs could be completely and arms could be in the completely wrong place to go into the beginning of the dodge cycle. So what Harry's system is doing, and a lot of AAA games do, is that it looks at where the command, at that point the AI says dodge, it looks in the run animation where the bones are, and Harry's got all that tagging, all that information stored, and then it's going to say, okay, pick the closest point in the dodge animation that if I blend to it is going to give me the least amount of jankiness, right? And so that's what this code is doing.
Right. So the way it goes is you try to determine which, quote unquote, which bone is dominant, and I call the bone dominant the one that's currently going forward, right? So in here, the bone that is dominant is actually this back one. Even though it's back, it is the dominant bone because it's going forward. And the reason I need to determine that is that not only I match up the correct matching pose in terms of where the position is actually, but so that when the animation is resumed from that point in time, it doesn't actually it carries on in the correct direction, right? So it so it doesn't happen that the stride suddenly reverses, right, or starts moving the other way, because that's something you can do. You can match a pose that's actually match a pose in the animation at a time where it's actually progressing the other direction, right? um, so that's what that is about. Then I determine in the target animation, I basically gather a list of segments that have that bone as the dominant bone, meaning match up basically the direction of the dominant bone. Then
So
I use these. Yes.
Oh yeah, I was just watching chat, Harry, and some people there were earlier questions about will this help kaiju, and and some more recent ones about, hey, this stuff is subtle. I don't normally pay attention to it. Well, this stuff gets magnified if the creature is really large. If the blend state is completely janky on a small creature, let's say it's a knee biter or even a tihu, mostly Nebai. TUs are double human size, just so you know, right? They're size of a medium frame. But if you start to think about it, I think when you talk about kaiju, if we had really janky blend states on kaijus moving around the world, it would look really, really obvious because of how big they are.
Yes. Yes. You still notice it even with the smaller one. because it's just a hitch. You see it like it's subconscious. It's something that simply doesn't fit well. You wouldn't be able to necessarily put your finger on it, but you know something is off.
Right. We do the best we can with, and this technology lets us get a lot closer to a better result, a more natural looking result than uh, what most games rely on, which is just a straight up blend.
Yes. So basically, from there on, I you use a binary search in a function, because here you reach the problem of how do you find the value of an inverted function, uh wherein you so how curves usually work is you have the x-axis and you can trivially find the value, right? So you know the x, you immediately know the y. The problem is when you only have the y, find me the x. And the problem is that you can have multiple values of x. So for example, if I said give me the value of the time at which this actual function here has the value 71, well, that's over here, but also sort of over here, right? You can see these 2 points are the same when you run this line. At the sort of, yeah, that's the problem. And the way I do it is make sure the side effect of basically segmenting up this curve into segments like this, into dominant segments, is that the curves that you're looking at only really go one way. So you don't have the thing where you have two values or multiple values for a single y value on the x-axis. And in mathematics, it's called something like unidirectional. I don't know. I almost flunked calculus, so it. Um,
This is why you're doing math now.
yes, this can bite me in the ass. But thankfully, calculus is all just you're messing around with elementary functions like cosinus, sinus, logarithmus naturalis, and stuff like that, right? Uh, this has none of that, right? This is just random values that cannot be realistically, like, if you segment this up into infinitely small parts, maybe you could describe this curve with an elementary function, but you cannot create an integral from this. So, or create a derivation of this that's easily describable. That's which is more or less what you do in calculus at the university specifically. Pretend like you know anything, or know something useful. So what this function, and I didn't write this function, I found it somewhere on the internet, is basically a binary search, wherein uh, you sort of uh, it's a computer science thing, wherein
You
you
split the search
basically,
space by half each time, right?
yeah, you basically, yeah. So the way this works is, all right, let's say you have a value. Let's say you have a value of 71, right? And you have this many, I think that's 70 keys, 70 indexable keys that you can look at. What you do is start exactly in the middle, and you check the value. Okay, let's say you have the value of 49. uh, you basically check what's the value exactly in the middle, right? Uh, if the value is higher, and this only works only in these sort of unidirectional functions. If the value is higher, you start looking in the other half. If the value at that point is lower, you're looking in the previous half, and you keep doing this recursively until you find a value. It's if you never did computer science, you have no idea what I'm talking about. That's fine. This is
Yeah,
weirdo
a
maths.
binary search is like, it's like, when you're taking 100 basketball players and you're lining them up from shortest to tallest, or you're trying to find a certain height. That's a better accurate more description. You're trying to find a certain height, and there's different ways that computers will use to do that, and you're taught like 6 different ways in basic computer science, and there's even weirder ways to do it, and this is just one of them.
Yeah. So from then on out, it's some slight optimization wherein I try to uh, sort of like guesstimate because let's say at this point in time you actually have the thing that you want. You have the time in the target animation, and you could go with that. But what I do here is some additional optimization wherein I try to look around, or try to match up all the other curves that I have in here, which in this case is just one other curve because I have two bones, right? So I try to find the value of the other, do the same thing for the other curves for their values, and try to match them up more closely within a certain error tolerance. So it goes into gets into the territory of sort of heuristics and guesstimation things happening. And because you probably won't find a perfectly matching pose, you just find something that's close enough, like closest you can make it. And you don't get that by just looking at a single bone, right? Ideally you would have another bone as well. So the two ones get close enough, so to the point to what it actually looks like. To illustrate it better, I'm just gonna do the thing here, do clickety clack, go here, here. All right. Now when I do the run things, it freeze. It froze at the wrong time. Yeah, I know what the problem. Maybe. There we go. Go over here. Hopefully it doesn't crash anything. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. No. No. Where did I go? There you go. All right. So basically, what so this is the exit pose. Although this is a very unfortunate time. This is the pose that I exited from. So this is the old pose, right? This is the thing that I'm trying to match, find the point, find the matching, um, the matching pose in the other animation, and this is the result. This is the other animation, right? So it's not good. It's not ideal. It's close enough, It's so this is animation A. This is the closest pose I could find in animation B. And I think there's slightly the discrepancy in here. That there's some time happening. Sorry. The problem with this animation and linking up, doing fancy calculation stuff like I've been just describing, and hooking and synchronizing it with the animation graph, is they run in different threads, right? At the time step for the animation graph is different for this thing over here, right? So it's happening in like two different time domains and on two different execution threads. So you have to do a little bit of finagling synchronization-y things. And that's basically what this is, because what happens is that you get into the end. So I can show that actually. If I just hook up this, and just do undo this. Yeah. Do run. Huh. This doesn't look like bad actually. There's one frame wherein you do not have when it's sort of the animation jumps the shark. It looks fine. What? Is this
You
working?
did it, Harry. You're a wizard.
No, it's not supposed to work. I was
Oh,
supposed to
it's not
break it.
supposed to work. It's not supposed to. Never mind. Ignore that, everyone.
Odd. Well, the problem is that you sort of enter this thing. You sort of enter this other state before all the fancy calculations are done, right? And you're starting at 0 when you're not supposed to be at 0. You're supposed to be at some time in the future, right? I think I know what's happening. I think the poses are too similar for you to see a difference.
Yeah, I think the
Uh,
example we're picking is pretty subtle because it's from a start to a run. I think we're talking about how this system can sort of like make things look a little better if the change in animations is more drastic. Which, as we talked about, I just want to reiterate, I see this as being very helpful for making kaiju giant creatures look less derpy in games, which is a consideration for us, right? Because we've got giant kaiju in the game. The other thing is, a lot of this was born of my desire to have much more interesting NPCs in the game. And, I don't know if you remember the first uh, demos with the Sihu, and there we had the early animations, and they're kind of like speed walking around like Benny Hill on terrain, and they were very sort of like jerky in their animation flow. And then I brought up two examples in later streams. I showed the difference between how enemies behave in Destiny 2, and I showed how they behaved in Anthem, and I sort of held up Destiny 2 as sort of being the gold standard between the two for having much more interesting NPCs to shoot at than Anthem. And so, yeah, Benny Hill. Basically, our initial this is a new Copa, right? I'm talking before the white box. Our new Copa terrain, the Tsihu would literally move like Benny Hill guys on terrain, and admittedly that wasn't final animation or anything, which we have now, but it was also an effect of us using we were using a simplistic third party plugin to do their animation network, and I was never really satisfied with that. And the Thumper uses that too, and the Thumper is a much bigger creature. You can see how janky the Thumper is right now on the terrain. And all of this, I believe, is going to help out a lot with that. Now, you can't get rid of it completely, right? If the AI has to go from one extreme pose to another extreme pose that's completely different, you're going to get a hitch. You're going to get something weird happening. But this puts a lot more smoothness into the overall result. So if you remember how the Tsihu used to move, and you can see this to a smaller extent in the white box demo. They have better movement there, not much better, but better movement. And then compare it to what we're doing now, it's like night and day. And I should really take a clip of the old Sihu spawns on New Copa and how they worked. And once this system is in and compared to the new one, then you guys can see the huge difference that all this stuff will end up making.
Yes. Well, it just so happens that this trying to rejigger it so that where do I there was a point in hmm I'm trying to create an example wherein you can actually is this it?
So please ban me.
No.
I'll field this question while you're working on it, Harry.
All
Please
right.
ban me is asking, could you add transition poses between animations to make them less janky? And the answer is yes. And we do have a bunch of transition poses for different states, but the problem is you can't create them for every possible combination. You get what's called combinatorial explosion, right? You get if you have 5 different animations and you need to do all the transitions manually between those transitions, it's 5 factorial, right? So 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, and that's how many transition states you'd have to hand animate. And that's just obviously not practical, especially since we have, 30 or more animations for simple characters, right? So you get to get just an obscenely number of transitions. So you cannot, and games don't do a transition for every single possible transition from state to state. And so this is where the procedural stuff comes into play.
Hmm.
So I hope that
Well,
answers Please ban me's question.
yeah, thing is not cooperating with me. So, yeah.
That's okay. It's in development. You guys are seeing the sausage being made, as I like to say often. Boy, my
I can't.
analogies really suck today. I'm just really, I'm gonna get banned. Um, well, Harry, if this part isn't working, maybe we can show them all the different animations that we're trying to blend between.
Yes, I think I know what's happening. And for some reason, it like always keeps this last animation, so it always ends in this last pose, which ends up matching fairly good. So that's what's happening. All right, another animation. So another thing that I was working on was specifically strafing, right? and it isn't really baked into anything yet. So strafing currently only exists in this sort of it's not incorporated into the game's logic properly. But basically, what's happening here? So we have these animations. This, um, yeah, he's basically doing this. Basically, I'm controlling his angle at which he's strafing, and you see a little bit of jerky motion. I'm using something built in. They call it sync groups, and it uses all the different markers that I have set there somehow, naturally, somehow, I don't know how, internal system, to try to match up, do this time matching thing, but they do it only on a basis of time between the synchronization markers, not necessarily on the pose. So you can see as he's changing, as he's sort of changing the strafing movements, it is a little bit of jerkiness to it. It's not
And I would like to explain
terribly
one thing
smooth.
too, Harry. You're not seeing him move across the landscape at all, or the floor, because that's added by the movement code later. This is just the animation that plays when he's going forward, backwards, side, left, forward, right, back, left, etc. But it's all in
Yes.
one single place. He's not actually moving on the floor. That's because that's a separate part of the code. When we add the AI behavior, then when he's strafing, you'll actually see him strafe, travel across distance. But right now, it's just the animation states that we're blending between.
Yes. So this is another animation. Let's see. So we have this days animation here.
I think we would have to just ragdoll you at that point because it would look weird if you got shot from the side and it was 90 degrees and you went 90 degrees backwards. So we'd probably just ragdoll you. But we got options now, right? That's the point of having the death anims. Uh, Death Stealth asks, "Hey Grums, how do you feel about putting a closed alpha for your builds on Steam? You have an Ember group, maybe make a store page for it, or is it way too early?" I think it's way too early for that, and the builds are reserved for backers. And But some future Steam integration would be good. And I did reserve the group name on Steam so that no one could snag Ember. So we do have that option. Let's see. Zitomix asks, Felly idle animation. I hope it's going to be good. Yep. We got you covered. Let's see. Any other questions here? Toshi says, slap an effect to hide the model switch. Yeah, we are going to do both. We are going to do some sort of transition, probably with a vertex shader, and then we're going to hide the transition with an effect. That's typically the way it's done. I think we just want to get the idea across. The morphing, we're not going to spend a lot of time doing some sort of full vertex morph into a beast mode. That's not the point of that. The point is to get the idea across. We'd rather save that type of technology for the larger kaiju stuff. Let's see. All right, I think we're caught up on the questions, Harry. Anything else you wanted to cover on the animation system?
No, not necessarily. It's just I'll continue working. The target for now is finish up the animation so that it's at least somewhat working and is workable, wherein the Tihu will be able to sort of move around rationally, and then switch over to actually AI. Set them up with a behavior
Right.
and move on from there.
So basically get their animations all blending and transitioning so that the AI is ready, can just issue commands, and the Tsihu should animate and do the right thing. So there's two
Yes.
different pieces to the puzzle here. There's it's the AI knows nothing about the animation of the character. That's the ideal way you want to compartmentalize it. You just want the AI just should be concerned with thinking and positioning and moving for fire positions and things like this. And then the animation network should just figure out how to make all that animate and look proper. So this is the animation part, and our goal is to get the animation part into a good enough state where we can then go to the AI part and start issuing commands on the battlefield and have these guys moving around. We're going to be changing the way that they move around on the battlefield. Right now, they were using Unreal's state machine and move to commands, and they're just what they're and what's called their EQS system, environmental query system. So if you notice in the current build, they sort of like run towards you and then they form a semicircle around you and shoot. That's pretty good. That's working, but I'd like to do something a little bit more interesting. And so for that, I think this stuff's going to come in handy. I want to get a lot of personality in that. I think we don't have many enemies in Ember, so we should make them pretty fun to fight, and that's the goal. All right, I think I would like to do a raffle now. So how about we transition back to Chief Chat?
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen is there's going to be an audio switch here, and we are going to be moving back to the Chief Chat room. And in that room, you'll be able to still hear all of us, and you will be able to hear us on Discord. Right now, you can only hear us on Twitch. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to pull up our interstitial. I think it's Bunny Rock time, and after Bunny Rock, I will see you guys in Chief Chat.
Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can. Good.
All right. So just waiting for Grums. Now, how many people out there watching this stream understood most of the tech talk? Hmm.
Yeah, I'm bad explaining it because I don't understand. Kind of difficult.
I think you did fine, Harry. It's just a very particular set of skills. Right on. Oh, of course, Toshi. Yes. Correct.
All
We're
right.
here on Discord.
I think we're
Hey, there he is.
yeah, I had a boomer moment. I was on mute. I was like going through all the software stack trying to figure out where the audio problem was. It turns out it was the mute button. Big red lights on the Elgato Wave XLR failed to do anything to warn me about this. I am not a boomer. I am Gen X, just so you know. But anyhow, that might as well have been a boomer moment. All right, I want to thank Harry for all that technical explanation, which, I've tried my best to translate very poorly, and I like to pretend I understand it, but I really don't. I just like, I'm like,
Hey, me too.
Harry, Harry, make it move cool, okay? Like look at this. Can we make it look like this? And he says, yeah, I think, and we try. Oh, so I was saying all this stuff and you guys didn't hear me. Like D Solid Bear on Twitch was saying there's no guitar strap on the Bunny Rock, and I'm like, yep. Yeah, that's technology that's just not a priority. But if you're a guitar player, it probably bugs the crap out of you. Solid Bear, I don't know if you're a guitar player, but some of us are, and yeah, I hear you on that. All right, I think it's raffle time. The bunny is also not playing the right notes. This is true. I mean, it was at least I got her into to do a bar chord correctly. Okay.
And not doing procedural synchronization of notes and finger movement on the guitar.
I know. We should dig up the old Guitar Hero tech. Figure out who's got that. That'll be worth it, right? I think it's raffle time. I think I'd like to do a ketchup pack, Ronan.
Ketchup pack.
Let's do that. Let's do a practice round and a ketchup pack, and I will get a drink and stay hydrated. I recommend all of you do so too, who don't need the practice for raffles. But if you do need the practice, we're gonna do a round. All right, over to you, Ronan.
All right, all right. So those who may be new here today, we're about to do a raffle. A raffle is something we do here in Discord, and basically you just throw your hat in it, and if you get lucky, you win something. Now, if you're new, you may not know how it works, so we're going to run through a practice session to make sure you get it. And it's very simple. You're going to see a sentence from our community coordinator. That's Faye there. Underneath that, you'll see a sentence from Em8er. And underneath that, you'll see an emoji. The emoji is a notepad with a pencil on it. You're going to click on that. It's going to put you in the running for the raffle. Now, first up here is just a test raffle, so you're not going to win a prize. But you do have the honor of getting Faye's thanks, which is what we do for our test raffles. So in just a moment, we're going to run this here raffle and see what's what. Zingo, are you trying to stab the notepad? What's happening? All right, Faye, when you're ready, let's do it.
All right, everybody get ready. On your mark. Get set. Click.
And folks, remember, while the raffle is running, please do not post anything. We need to give everybody a chance to see it. We don't want it to get lost in the shuffle.
And it's not the ketchup pack.
Yeah, how did that?
Somebody's trolling everybody.
Tried to see it there before the notepad. That's weird.
The bot didn't make it into.
And the winner of Faye's thanks today is Optic Skink. Skink? Congratulations, Optic Skink. You win Faye's thanks. Next up, we're going to do the actual skin raffle. Now, for those who may be new, maybe you don't know what the skins are. Maybe you don't know why we call it a ketchup pack. Maybe you don't even know who I am. And all of that is just fine. We're about to tell you. First up, let's see some ketchup. Let's see some tomatoes. Let's see the love. My sound is low, Toshi? Have I finally learned to contain my sound? I'm no longer just constantly loud? What's happening? You broccoli people are doing it wrong. Jedi, you keep your eggplants to yourself.
Well, it's only half wrong if they add cheese.
How are we not banned yet? If Twitch really did ban the T word, that would be hilarious.
It would be. Would be. Okay, now, folks, we're going to show you an image of a ton of skins. You see, over these months, we've been doing an Ember patron system, and what that is if you sign up for it, it's $7.95 per month, very cheap. You get some cool stuff. The coolest of which is, of course, the skin. Every month you get a skin. Now, these skins can be for a lot of different things. Could be for a gun, could be for a mech, could be for a pet, could be for a mount. Our most popular, of course, are the husbandos and the waifus. And if you win this here ketchup pack, you're going to get a ton of all of those. The condiment connoisseur. All right. Cybernetica, are you the coolest thing? Okay, that might be true, but do you come with a ketchup pack? Like, do people get you? Is that a thing? I don't think you're here for the raffle. I don't think it works like that. Okay. Now, Faye, when you're ready, show us this here image. Post it right here in main. Oh, look at that. That's amusing. Show the image there, Faye.
All right.
I'm Jedi. The rifle skin is my waifu. Yes. Behold all of those amazing skins. And they can be yours if you're lucky enough. Could be there, Shaney. Could be. Depending on who you ask, it very well is. And so what we're about to do is a raffle for the ketchup pack. So please prepare yourself. Rub your favorite lucky rabbit or whatever it is you've got. And well, I wish the best for all of you. Faye, take it away.
All right. Everybody ready? On your mark. Get set. Click. Only the notepad with the pencil on it.
That's right.
Luigi's not giving anything away today.
Remember, folks, do not post while this is running. Give everyone a chance to see it. Ten seconds left. Who's gonna get lucky? Demetrius, you get a ketchup pack.
Congratulations, Demetrius.
Now, if you don't already know, what you're going to do is send me a private message right away. You're going to send me a message. It's going to say, hey, Ronan, I want a ketchup pack. Here is my Ember ID that you use on myember.com. If you don't already have an account on myember.com, please get one now. It's free. It doesn't take very long. It's easy. Get it done. That's the only way you get the prize. All right, Grumps, back to you. Thank you,
Awesome.
Faye.
Thank you very much, Faye. Thank you very much, Ronan. Thank you very much, community team, for another successful chef chat. Yes, we're cooking next time. Chief chat and Harry. How about a round of applause for Harry? Huh? That's a lot of tricky work, and he had to like learn it from scratch. Let's hear it for Harry, guys. Can we get a thanks to Harry going up here? Where's that link? Yep. Awesome.
There it is. There it is.
Thank you, Harry. That is it. I know you're like, maybe I'm going too deep into this. It's like, no. It's going to pay off. Trust me. It's going to pay off. Especially when we do the kaiju and when we're doing this. The guys, I mean, let's face it, in New Copa, the Sea Who were really running around kind of silly. I mean, they were almost comical. And I think they're going to look a lot cooler now. And a lot of it is thanks to Harry's work on learning some new technology that indie games don't do, We're definitely in AAA territory here, and I'm just really grateful that we have you know, someone like Harry who's willing to deep dive into that sort of stuff. So thank you so much, and I know the community really appreciates it too. All right, everyone. Thank you again for another wonderful day. I'm going to consume some calories and nutrition and all that stuff. I always miss lunch when we're doing the stream. And congratulations again. And again, I want to thank our graphics card donors who donated their old graphics cards or found graphics cards that could be procured at reasonable prices so that we could test on low-end systems. And that would be Lyle4Guy, thank you so much for the card. Quadrana2, thank you so much for the card. And DH Yoko, thank you so much for those 1060s. We've got a 1063 gigabyte, a 1066 gigabyte, and we have a 1050 Ti. And I feel really confident that as long as Em8er is running decently on those, we are in good shape to run on most people's machines for Kickstarter and beyond. All right, everybody. Thank you again. And thank Toshi, too. I think Toshi already thanked himself. And I'm glad he didn't win the raffle again this time, because we get enough accusations of the raffling system being fixed without Toshi making it worse. All right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.